Welcome everybody. My name is Lee George. I'm one of the organizers for 1 Million Cups St. Paul, along with Paul Lansman and Greg Fout and Sarah Weimer from Agency North, who's not here today. This happens every week for those of you who are new. We have 2 startups that present. They get 6 minutes to give us an overview of their company, and then we get to be a challenging yet friendly audience to them and give them really great feedback. And our goal is to get them to a better spot than when they arrived here this morning. And then afterwards, there's time, of course, to network and to talk and to help each other out as a community. First up, we have Catherine Gillis from Mobile Composer. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. So, thanks for coming out on such a cold morning. I'm going to start. Lee tells me I have 6 minutes, so we'll just see how well I do. I want to tell you the story of Bob this morning. Bob is a sales rep for a telecommunications company. He's really comfortable in his job. He knows how to sell products and services well. He has a great relationship with his customers. And then one day he wakes up and he gets an email from his boss that says, "We are changing our plan. We're going to have new pricing. We are going to talk about integration. We're going to talk about new device management." And Bob says, "Ugh. I am going to get a sales kit in the mail, and then they're going to give me some online training, and then I'm just going to go and wing it like I usually do." But then Bob gets a second email from his boss, and it says, "Go download the Orchestrate app. And in that app is everything that you're going to need to be able to sell this product." And he gets really excited about that. That's pretty cool. Let me see what we've got in there. So he can, in this presentation, he notices that he can download a video. We're going to go forward here. Sorry about that. There we go. He can download a video. He can read a summary. He can take a quiz with some questions in it. He can get a technical white paper that goes into all the details on the plan that he's going to need to have this conversation with his customer. So then the next thing he does is he goes and he talks to his customer, John. And John wants to know everything he can about the new product and services. But within that presentation, which Bob can, within the same app, look at the presentation and go down various tracks with Bob and dive in deep to whatever Bob wants to know without ever leaving the app. So he's got everything he needs to know to sell the product and service, and then he's got everything he needs to know to talk to his customer. So John is especially interested in device management, and Bob can go down that track with him and teach him everything. He has a few questions though, and he wants to know if what Bob is proposing is really going to work price-wise and device integration-wise with what's already out there. So Bob, within his presentation, can pull up a calculator, do the calculations about what this means for his business, and run the numbers and show them to John on the spot. John thinks this is really awesome, and he decides he's ready to move forward. But he wants to be able to share this with his boss so they can plug it into their budget. Bob can then take the calculation, create a PDF, pull up John's email, and send it to him on the spot. This is completely awesome, John thinks. I've got everything I need to make my decision here. And Bob is really happy because his sales cycle has just shortened up exponentially. Meantime, Bob and John aren't the only ones that are happy. The marketing director is really, really happy because she can get questions from Bob on a regular basis, and she answers every one. And then she starts getting questions from a lot of reps about a particular issue related to mid-sized customers. And so she realizes, there's something here that I didn't really anticipate. So she can create a quick video about this issue. She can create some frequently asked questions and post them to Orchestrate, and then deploy them on her own using Orchestrate's content management system. She doesn't have to hire a developer to redevelop the app and redeploy it, which shortens her time to getting to the better answers it just makes it so much faster, and that they can continuously improve then the content that they're delivering. So, she also starts getting questions from the sales reps in California. And when they're not surfing, they're getting pinged with a lot of questions about a new law in the state of California related to cell phone plans in businesses. She doesn't know the answer to these questions, so she takes this to her boss, the VP of Marketing, and pulls in the VP of Sales and says, we've got this issue and I'm not sure how to answer it. They call the legal team. They have a conversation with the legal team and they realize that their plan is still spot on. It's solid, there's not a problem, but they need to change their marketing strategy a little bit. So they then can create some new content and the marketing director can go back and upload it in the app, and everybody has exposure to this issue in California, as well as the California reps who get their answer quickly and are able to respond to their customers much faster. So marketing and sales management realize, hey, we're getting really good insights in a much faster way. And so we have this much closer relationship between marketing and sales, and we can sell much faster. We can get to better content. We can get to better performance within our sales teams. There is a lot that we can do with Orchestrate's big data analytics to solve our problems. Finally, the VP of Sales goes in 1 month later and looks at the performance. Some of the sales reps, like Bob, they're just killing it. They're doing great. Others are not performing very well. So he can go back in and analyze how the sales team is doing, what programs they're watching, what videos they're taking in, what content they're downloading, what presentations they're using. Based on what the company has provided them, and then they can start to track all the way from the beginning what's working and what's not. And they realize then that they can start to nurture those underperformers by creating best practices. By looking at what the best performers are doing, they can help those who are not. So the VP of Sales then starts to assign new tasks to the underperformers, looks 2 weeks later, and they're doing much better. At the end, he can send out an email through Orchestrate to the whole sales team, congratulating them on a very successful launch. What can we learn from the story of Bob and Orchestrate? For Bob, he gets a much shorter sales cycle. The marketing director can continuously improve content. John, our customer, gets answers much more quickly and can make a decision faster. And management gets much better insight into what's going on in the marketing and sales organization and how they can use those insights to get better and better. So that is Orchestrate. Where are we now? We've completed our first version in August. We have 2 customers, a Fortune 500 and an IT consulting firm. We have a team of 4, Lauren Horsager, our CEO and the creator of Orchestrate, Carrie Egan on business development, Michael Peterson, our intrepid intern and video producer. Where are we going? Orchestrate has a ton of potential, and we want to move beyond marketing and sales to be a mobile solution for the entire enterprise. We can touch and integrate with a lot of different places within the organization, and that's where we're going next. We're also seeking enterprise-level customers. So, as part of 1 Million Cups, we've heard you want to know how you can help. First of all, I'd love feedback on this presentation. I'd love feedback on the product. We, of course, would love customers. We are actively growing our business, and we are seeking investment between now and January. Thank you.
brainchild of how this came about and some of your background?
Sure. Well, Lauren Horsager, our CEO, has worked on, developed technical solutions for marketing and sales organizations for 20, 25 years now, and has been working actively in mobile for the last 5 years, I would say, developing over 50 apps. I've been working on it from the marketing side and seeing the opportunity. Mobile really does have the potential to change everything. You have much better one-on-one conversations. You have functionality that you didn't have before within marketing and sales. We saw a lot of companies developing custom apps and task-based apps, and they were expensive to develop. They were expensive to maintain. They were task-based. They didn't really take an enterprise view on how you can improve continuously across the organization and make these things work holistically. And so I think that's really where the brainchild came from. Lauren, do you want to add to that at all? Okay. So that's where it came from. Mm-hmm.
I would say great presentation. I like the use of stories is a huge plus. I really was able to follow the pieces. And in the last 3 years, I worked at my own company, but I used to work at Lawson Software in sales enablement, and I would have bought this in a second. So it'd be really.
Tell your friends.
Yeah. It was my job to try to solve this problem, and it was very hard.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, based on the story, we've been just playing with this story, and based on that, we find that this is a very complicated product to talk about.
Very
Did that was clear?
It helped.
Did it help?
The story is huge. I would suggest, if you only have 6 minutes, just pick one key benefit. I think whenever we're selling,
Right.
our excitement is it can do so much.
Right.
And sometimes it's better to leave your audience wanting more. Like,
Right.
just tease them with the very
Right.
best thing, and then you can hit them over and over again later when they ask for it.
Sure. We appreciate that. It's been a struggle to get to this point.
I've been there too. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, I was just going to second what Nate, right?
Yeah.
Nate said. I love the use of story, and yet maybe I'm I'm really struggling with what you do.
Okay.
And maybe it's context or something, but it's not connecting.
Okay.
With me and my potential audiences. I love to connect people and network, and I want to try and help you bring you customers. But I still am struggling with, I don't know who your target customer is.
So should we try and answer this now, or should we take, okay, well, I'll try and give you the quick answer, and then we can, I'd love to have a longer conversation with you offline. So the quick answer is, we have a suite of mobile apps that work together to help bring marketing and sales closer together and drive performance. Those apps, the first one, and we talk about them together holistically because that's the way they're intended to work. The first is Engage, which is the part that you saw where you can get essentially online training, right? You can watch videos, you can get information, you can download things that help you do your job better. The second is Sync, where you can create a repository essentially of all the collateral that you use in a marketing and sales organization, whether it's videos or documents, and you can have those at the ready, and then those will pull into Engage to support that, but not take up a lot of space on the device. The third is then Present, which is the third app within the suite. And with Present, the company can create presentations, approve them and archive them, and that's actually pretty critical because we've all been there where people go off and create their own things. Sales reps are notorious, right? They'll pull a logo from 1993 off the internet and throw it into a presentation. It's off brand, it's off message. So if you have approved and archived presentations that they can start with and build off of, and then within that presentation, you can go deeply down into various tracks. After you can present some basic information, you can have different tracks based on the interaction with your customer. You can say, okay, they're not interested in talking about price, they're interested in talking about integration, and then you can go deeply into that conversation within the presentation. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to have better conversations with your customers. The calculator function then allows you to give them really good basic information and send it to them right away. So that, again, it's shortening up the sales cycle by giving people better information.
Sorry, just to clarify, that
Yeah.
I think what would have been maybe helpful for me is telling a story about this Bob. It seemed to me so vague, who Bob was.
Sure,
If you could connect Bob to an actual company,
sure,
or a title, or like, you know, my mind can fill in the pieces of other customers that this might be a fit for.
right,
I know that Bob works for a medical device company.
Okay.
Trying to build this widget.
Yep.
And it's trying to expand it into this market.
okay,
Now I follow Bob in his actual role, and I can start to see that, well, I don't know somebody in the medical device business, but I know somebody in, you know, the guy building those bracelets that he talked about last week that keep track of kids or whatever.
Yep.
I can start to see how that would work for another company. I guess for me, it seemed to me that Bob and the characters of the story were vague.
okay. That's really good feedback, thank you.
I'll add that Bob isn't the hero of the story. The person who you're selling to, you want to make them the hero, right?
Right,
Who's going to be the hero when they find this is the person that is in sales enablement, who's in charge of disseminating knowledge to the sales force. Not Bob. Bob's not the hero. It's the person who gets to use this. So introduce a character. Let Bob be the sales enablement person whose life you're changing, right?
so the
They're
marketing,
the one they get the email saying, wait, we're totally shifting plans and I got this brand new rollout I got to get out to sales in the next 30 days. Oh my God. That's whose life is turned upside down. And then this is the product that can, yeah, right. Yeah, let them be the hero.
okay, that's great feedback, yes.
Does this tie into their existing CRM? I mean,
You can build an API out to that, so we need to know what your CRM is, and then we can, as a custom, this is a software as a service product, but we can build an API out to CRMs based on what you have in your organization. It's not a what?
It's everything but
let
the
us
CRM.
hear it.
It's everything but the CRM.
We are working on, we're planning on integrating with Salesforce next year. I see. Very cool,
Yeah.
So how does this monetize?
This monetizes by, we are selling it software as a service. There's an upfront kind of process of about 6 to 8 weeks where we onboard, and there's some consultation based on what is it you're trying to achieve, who's your audience, who's going to be using it, and then we sell it by seat, so per user. Like a Salesforce.com would be a good model for how we're selling this.
See, I think those were some of the really good questions here of how to make that story a little bit better. Honestly, you know, some of those things right up.
Sure.
It ties in, it can be
Sure.
tied into. Those are really good. And it makes lots more sense of what's going on with this app now.
And if you have two, if you say you have 2 clients right now, one's a big, or at least one's a bigger client, saying, and what we've seen is put it off of you and saying, like you said, to make Bob the hero,
Right.
you want to sell it every time you can, saying, hey, what we've seen happen when Bob has this is his time goes to whatever.
Right,
This is Bob's life before, this is Bob's life now with
Right.
your solution.
yeah,
Problem, solution. Yeah.
okay.
Sweet spot of size, like number of sales reps, size of deal. I assume it's business to business more than business to business.
Yes, right now it is a business to business. Yes, we do envision, I think we would like a size of, we do see this as an enterprise app. So if you had a sales force of 200 sales reps or more, that would be awesome. One of our clients is smaller, and we're kind of trying to figure out how this works for smaller organizations too. They still need to get their thought leadership out there. They still need to engage. But from our point of view, it really starts to work with a larger sales force of 200 plus. And it could be as many as you want. It could be thousands. This could easily work for a global enterprise. And with that content management system, by the way, you can put this in any language you want to. You could have multiple languages. So it really could support a global enterprise. Yes?
I'm not super familiar with sales or anything like that. Is this, are people already looking for a solution like this? Is it something that people find just like Googling, like they might find like SurveyMonkey or something? Or do you actually have to go out and sell to and sell to a company, like have your own sales rep?
So let's see if I understand your question correctly. Are people actively looking for solutions like this?
What would they search for?
What would they search? What would they search for?
Sure, what would be your number one key phrase, say, in the organic search engine optimization effort? But it's not a CRM.
Mobile training or sales
Everything
enablement.
but, yeah.
It's sales enablement, yeah.
Sales enablement and training, I think is
Probably mobile sales enablement would be one of our top 10 keywords. But that's a really good exercise, actually. I'm going to do that this morning.
Yeah, and then you have to think about, like, for me being in sales for 20 years, I think about, when you said salespeople pull stuff and throw it into the presentation, I am totally one of those people. So I do love this, and it shortens the sales cycle because it shortens the preparation time.
That's right.
For the salesperson. But, have you guys looked at, like right now, everything I use is in PowerPoint and everything, or SharePoint, or, or all of the other new, like, super great presentation tools that are out there, are those going to be people, or is that something that you're kind of competing against? And has that come up when
Do you wanna-
you've chatted with these enterprises?
absolutely that. So the present piece, you can import PowerPoint presentation. However, we see the whole mentality of how you create those presentations changing. So as a marketing, creating content like that, rather than creating a large presentation, you're creating maybe a few slides on this topic, a few slides on that topic, and our tool puts that together to build these different storylines so that you can actually go down the story. You kind of have this one monolithic presentation, but it allows a rep to walk down the right storyline depending on the conversation.
Because it's never linear.
Right.
Like
That's right.
it's not. Okay.
So it supports nonlinear conversations.
Yep, I love that.
Yep.
It also supports linear to do a presentation like this.
Sure.
But
Right.
Does it also assume that there is a marketing person who's able to create the videos, the content,
That's what dictates the size of the organization that we work with, because if you don't have a team that can actually create content and continuously get feedback and take that feedback and do something with it, create new content, it's successful.
Maybe can I wrap up with one of my favorite things we taught our salespeople. Have you guys heard of the concept is, does, means? Where you talk, it's really easy because you're close to the product to talk about what it is, all the cool technology it is, and when you walk through the pieces of what it can do, when you're talking at the right point of the story, that makes sense. But you oftentimes want to start your story about what it means. Like, what does a cell phone mean? It means I can be reached anywhere. It means I can do my job anywhere. I get to spend more time with my kids. Like, what is this actually? What are the problems? And how does it change their life? Starting there is a really good place to hook people instead of getting stuck in the weeds of the technology.
It kind of goes to that. Somebody referred me to a TED Talk after my presentation last week by Simon Sinek, Know Your Why.
For sure.
And it kind of gets to the why, right? Like, what's your passion? What is it really how are you going to change the world with this app? Like, the why. And then once you capture the attention with the why, then all the nuts and bolts start to, answer themselves.
Right. Right. Are we?
We have time for one more question. If anybody has one. Otherwise, our last question, you kind of posed to us already, but now with this feedback, what else?
I think this has been incredibly helpful and awesome, and any of you that would like to have additional conversations, we would absolutely welcome them. We really do believe mobile changes everything, and that it can radically change and improve the way that marketing and sales in particular are done. So I think that would be my final thought for you. I'll let you in on a little secret. This is the very first time we have presented this. As you can see, we just finished our app in August. So, and these two customers we have are really our pilot customers. So I really appreciate this opportunity to share this with you and tell you about where we're going.
So let me get some markers and introduce myself. My name's Tim Foss, as you heard from everyone. My company is called More Belief, and I want to tell you about that.
But first I'm going to tell you a little story to get to that as a means to an end. Recently, my son and I went camping. He is 5, and we were on the freeway for what I thought was going to be 3 hours, but it ended up being about 5 with construction. So we got to the campsite once it was pretty dark, and he was frustrated. I don't blame him. I was pretty frustrated trying to keep it cool. And we were setting up the tent, and we just got crazy, and finally he just sat down and laid on the ground, and he said, "Papa, look at all the stars." And I said, "Oh my God, I've raised a city kid. What have I done?" I grew up in the country, you know, there was cows, there was farm fields, and here's this city kid. And I was like, what do I say? You know, cities are cool. I said, cities are great for a lot of things. Your friends are there, your school is there, your whole community's there. Now, there's one thing. It's too bright. It's hard to see the stars. It's something called light pollution. Light can actually be that bright. And he said, "Papa, it's like a whole new way of seeing out here." So if seeing is believing, I'm in the business of creating more belief. That's the name of my company, as I said. And I capture the content of meetings, presentations, workshops, conferences, strategic planning, retreats, by using a technique called graphic recording. It's visual communication, it's live, it's in real time, and it's high touch and low tech. What is the value to your business if you wanted to use this as a service? Well, I like stories, so I'm going to tell you another story. I used to do a lot of drawing at the drawing board for clients, and I would sit there frustrated for days on end, drawing and drawing and drawing, and to pass the time, I would listen to podcasts. And so podcasts, after a while, start to run together a little bit. If you've ever listened to a few of them, you listen to about 10 in a row, and by the end of the day, you're pretty lost as to what you even heard. And I started having conversations with my wife. You know, hey, there was this podcast, what was it again? And I couldn't remember. But then 2 years later, I remembered this incident. I picked up a drawing I was doing for a client, and I realized I remembered the exact content of the podcast. And I thought, oh, the drawing created the retention. So by creating a drawing, I was able to realize there's more retention. And I thought there's something here. And I started looking into it. And I found a TED Talk, why not, by Suni Brown. She did a talk about all the ways we learn, and doodling being a major player in how we can increase our learning. So the first thing we learn is that we can learn with our eyes. Second, we can learn with our ears. Third, we're most used to learning from words. We think this is the God of all learning. Fourth, and probably least understood, and I know this now that my son is this kind of learner. Anyone know what that one is? Kinesthetic learning. Now, graphic recording miraculously integrates all of these. Even when you're witnessing drawing, it's creating a mirror neuron. You're starting to feel my body moving up here. You're starting to actually relate to that movement. And for some reason, that's actually helping you remember what's being said up here. I'll test you later. Now, that is one of the value adds for your company. Picture yourself in a meeting, and you're trying to make sure everybody remembers what's being said. Well, graphic recording can get you there. Another thing it does, in addition to increasing retention, there's some kind of weird lump under here, so I'm going to work around it. That's just a hazard we have to run into in this industry. This is 29% more retention, right? So we also get to see what we mean. That's huge. There's a lot of clarity then. We know what's been said. We see if it's been thought out right, and then we can add to it, and you can see the add-ons as I record it. The other thing is, it reduces repetition. We tend to talk too much because we don't think we're being heard. We don't know we've been heard. We're passionate. I'm passionate about this. I want to make sure you're hearing it. So I'm going to try to make everything possible that makes that true. So the final thing that I like quite a bit is that it's shareable. And so you get a content-rich product that you can share around and people like it. It's idea-rich, it's content-rich, and you can spread the word. So I would do this for free. I love this work. I can't do it for free because my 5-year-old has to keep going camping. And somehow I can't seem to get all the way down there in the car without gas, and sadly that's still the case. So the main thing I'm trying to glean from a conversation here would be, where's the best client? Obviously, I can figure out all these ways to use it, like I listed: retreats, workshops, strategic planning, brand strategy. It's endless. Marketing. I've done video scribes captured under video, but I prefer the live content, so I'm really emphasizing that. That's kind of my niche. But my SCORE mentor, Doug Peterson, an amazing guy, I actually helped record Greg speak there yesterday, and at their SCORE mentor monthly meeting. He said, you know, it's a real niche. It's such a niche little thing you're doing. And I'm like, okay, but I gotta do it. Like, this is the thing that I finally found that I have to do. And I've tried to illustrate books, I've tried to illustrate for magazines, for advertising, and I finally found that it's this live experience because it can be flawed. This isn't perfect. It's real. And I wanted to just capture people because of that realness. And I think the human story comes in that kind of delivery. So that's kind of where I'd like to start with questions and any thoughts.
So yesterday, I gave us a talk about the Hill and SCORE and how we can partner together, because the Hill has all these products and services like today, 1 million cups, but SCORE has the individual things like, you know, business planning and one-on-one contact mentoring from business executives in the past. And we had a good relationship in the past. It kind of went by the wayside. So I'm talking about this as Tim is putting it on the board. And Tim, what, as I almost, when I was speaking, I was watching over there looking at this thing and saying, you know, well, that, you know, so it made me come away with some of those 2 or 3 points on here was what it was. And I thought it was fantastic. So go ahead.
I can't believe I'm here today hearing this. So I speak about 100 conferences a year, and twice this year I've been on the stage and they've had a graphic artist on the side. And I thought it was so amazing, amazing experience. So last week, just this very last week at the Airport Hilton, for 3 days I do our international Trusted Summit. We have people come from Singapore and Ecuador, all over, and I believe in it. Because I believe we want to be on the front edge of learning and teaching and whatever. Yeah. So I looked all over Minnesota. So I'm going to tell you one of your problems.
I got a card right here.
First of all, let me say this, because your one problem is it is becoming known, and you're
not. Right.
And the second is selling what you're doing. Okay. So what did I do? I said I want this. And so I looked all over, and there's nothing, but I could fly someone up from Dallas. By the way, I spend thousands on this person. I don't know what you charge, but I said, who could do this? They have to be able to sketch fast. I spoke to 5, maybe 3 or 5 different sketch artists that at the fair do caricatures.
Right.
Because I thought that is the only type of artist
it's a whole other kind of thing.
Do what I want to do. So finally, I got Stevie D, or whatever his name was. And
you making that up, or
I'm not making it up. That's his name, Stevie D.
Stevie D.
Stevie E rhymes with E. So I hired him at I think fairly for what he usually gets sketch artists. And I said, here's the plan. I brought him into my office. Said, here's what I want you to get the content. So my approach, because I'm teaching for 3 days, internationally. 8 hour days, that's long days. We got to be creative. We got to be fun. We got to be. So the whole day, he's putting these. He's doing every pillar. I get 8 pillars in the book. So he does about 3 sketches on that. Everybody's looking at him, sharing. It's a sophisticated group. VPs from 3M, FedEx,
Yeah.
AT&T, they loved it. So first thing I would say is people love it when it's done right, which is the way you're doing it, not cheesy, not kiddie, it's killer. But I couldn't find you.
Yeah.
So there's 2 cells. One is, for those of us that would want it, you're I would say you're in Minnesota, it's a big option for people like me that are gonna share you. But the second is saying, and the newest research, not to take over here, but I saw on the writing,
Yeah.
and this is why we now went back to printable manuals instead of letting people use iPod for their workbooks.
Right.
Is like 33% more retention if they just handwrite it, because it uses the RAS, blah, 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 whatever. So I think you have a major win for learning that's more quickly and easily sellable than you're making. So I love your story. But I think, how do we let people know?
What did you search for?
I searched for conference artists, because I'm just thinking, what did I experience, right? I searched for conference artist, business artist, business sketcher. That's the things that came to mind for me, but I'm one lonely brain. I mean, I don't know what this. Obviously, I didn't search for the right thing. So it might just be as much me as it's him. So, I mean, what was my experience? Oh, but conference artist in Dallas came up. That lady wherever I was. So, I don't know.
I was really impressed with the presentation. I was wondering why the lady from the orchestra presentation wasn't paying attention to the guy over there who's drawing stuff that's doing a better job than her slides are doing. And this guy's going unacknowledged over here. Look at him working. He's whipping this stuff up, and he's like he's waiting for her to talk more because he's done drawing and ready to get to the next thing. Where are you going with it? And it was incredible. Thanks very much.
Fantastic.
Just one question there. I just launched, and I'm trying to figure out, how to build towards that, brand presence online. And so I think it's a lot of why you didn't find me. There is also an international community called the International Forum of Visual Practitioners.
Oh, man.
And it's a real thing. And now I just, I could give you like 130 options. And that's not a whole lot, but it's an international forum. I mean, they are all over the world. I want to be in your back pocket, but
You are? Yeah, this is perfect.
2 places I've seen this used. One, I spent a number of years recently at Optum Health, part of United Health Group. They've created a whole group around the design shop. And so we bring in customers for a 3-day seminar.
Design school, the Stanford? I think it's design school. Okay.
So we would bring in customers and prospects for a 3-day seminar, similar probably to what you were doing, but there's a lot of brainstorming and creativity involved. And so we would bring in visual artists to illustrate during the session.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those are on staff at United or if they bring in contractors to help out.
Great.
The other is a preschool here uses a discipline called the art of hosting.
Yep, I know it well.
And so my wife is involved in that, and they use artists to illustrate during the art of hosting process, really to make sure that all stakeholders are heard, and so visually the stakeholders in the room can see that their issues are up on the page, up on the board.
And is the art of hosting got a central organizer? I don't think it does. Isn't it just a concept and then anyone can use it?
Well, they train practitioners in the art of hosting as facilitators, but
right.
not the artists. And so
No, right.
visual person.
But there is like a central headquarters for the art of hosting that I could contact and say, hey, I'm one of these artists.
I believe so.
Maybe.
But I think what they're doing primarily is they're training people in the discipline.
Right.
And then those people go out. So you want to hit the people being trained.
That's the thing, and that's what I'm having trouble with, is how to find that kind of, it's like a feeder group. It's like a lot of facilitators would use this, and yeah.
Oh, I was just saying, I just tweeted this actually too, but Melissa Blank, our Vice President of Operations, is part of an association of meeting planners. And
There you go, right.
That would be that you'd want to.
And just what, show up at their meetups, or?
Talk with Melissa and say, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And they'd be great. Maybe
Is she standing over there?
she's not here.
You're pointing, what's her name again?
It's an International Association of Meeting Planners. And, I mean, at minimum, join in their directory.
Meeting directors?
You could start doing direct marketing to them as well. Many of them, in my project, I haven't had a chance to look at your Yeah, if you have somebody,
Is this it?
have somebody look at the search on there and make sure that
Yeah, so that, I can speak to some of that, like just building out your blog. The best way to get search engine optimization is to blog regularly.
I blog every week, actually, so that's good to hear. And I'm going to start doing a MailChimp push every month or something.
What are you blogging right now? What do you do?
What am I saying on it? What's the content?
Yeah.
I'm tending to put more of this. I'm doing more, captures for people pro bono, putting some of that up, tweeting it, Facebooking it, and just putting it on the blog and then pushing it through MailChimp.
So as a business model, like I do a weekly podcast for my customers. Sometimes it's just a talking head on a Skype recording, which I get complaints because people don't like my shirt.
Is it the same shirt? Well, we can understand that. This season.
I would pay you to do this to my podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to.
That could be like
Yeah.
so I see you as like a rock band. Like you do these
I get that a lot.
these small gigs. You get the small gigs just converting people's online content. Doing it like I know that online content is probably not as fun, but it's the perfect way to go.
Well, I'm finding a way to convert it by just shooting it live. Instead of video scribing, which is done in just the floating arm thing, which is taken off, and now there's all this software you can just like mock the arm. It's not as good, and it is also just oversaturated now.
Yeah, too bad. I don't like it. Yeah.
But I think just shooting live, and I just have started to do this with PR companies, Ciceron. They're interested in trying to use it in their meetings, and we just shot a video in 2 hours. That was just like front to back, and they're going to just pitch it with that. And I'll charge by the day and by the half day, and I have a half day rate of $900 and a full day of $1,800. And then an hourly of $125, and my minimum is to start at $300. And if you want a price sheet, I've got that too, and you can take it home. I also have a business abstract, so if you guys want to just have a little something to take home. Yeah, Catherine?
do you see yourself as being scalable at all? Do you think
Yes.
other people could do this?
That's what I'm hoping, and because of the problem you just had, what was your name?
David.
David. Because of the problem you just had, that Minnesota has actually a number of people doing this. You're seeing it at Art of Hosting. There's maybe people even on staff. I mean, I don't know. There's no way. I go to this site and there's 2 Minnesotans listed, me and this one other woman who's one of the queen bees in town who teaches this. She teaches it through Top Facilitation. Have you ever heard of this? It's another facilitation model. Catherine, you've got some history in this, it looks like. But yeah, it's a place where you can look for it. But I'd love to create either initially some affiliates that I can start assigning out and see if I can't create a rock band of these people.
I think you could make really good money taking recorded content that's already been captured, doing this treatment to it in a way that scales, because you could do it at the comfort of your own home,
Right.
crush those out,
Right.
and then all over your site. One idea I would have would be listening to a podcast that you know your target market listens to, and making one of these so that they stumble across it. So one of my favorite experiences of this is the UBS forum. They did a couple TED Talks like this, and I've been so hooked on it ever since. I've looked for people like you also, where you give that content up for free on your blog, and then it's book a day with
Yeah.
it. It's right there on your
I got a little traction by capturing the On Being blog or podcast recently, and I submitted it to their blog. They posted it. I tweeted it, and I included the person that they'd interviewed, and he tweeted it. And yeah, and recently the Kauffman Foundation, I just did a quick dry erase board capture of Craig Wortman's talk on presentation, which I used some tools to help build my storytelling.
Kauffman,
And he's tweeting it. And, yeah.
One of our partners, obviously a big partner,
Yeah.
entrepreneurial group.
Some of the
programs when they are
And you said that to me yesterday, yeah.
they did the sketching and somebody was doing
Yeah.
it right there. And you do retain it. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and this has, to your point, been around since the 70s. Like Apple started with this. Some of the initial people, David Sibbitt is one of the main kind of attributed grandfathers of the idea. And I worked with one of his students here. I mean, she lives in town, Joan McIntosh, an amazing consultant. She's done a ton of visual recording and facilitation, which is the next level where you actually lead the meeting. That's another way it's scalable. I can move from passive to more active, like I'm just doing here.
Because of that, I think that's you underselling yourself.
Yeah.
There's people that can only do this in the quiet of their own home.
Well, I'm only just getting the hang of that. So this is like, yeah.
The fact that you can do it live is a whole other pricing bracket, in my opinion. I think you charge way more for it.
Well, yeah, do you think the pricing is in a
It's an okay
decent?
spot for pricing, but I would, I know. and I-
Especially because he's going to hire.
I was thinking half price. But what I would say is, I don't think this is anywhere close to saturation of any. I don't think people know. You can tell me about all these other people, IFVP, ABCDEFG, but I don't think it's out there. I think the places, and this is my bias. You got a bunch of tech experts here, and I'm way more relationship centered, and we're seeing the value of Facebook. Yeah, you get somebody from the blog, one home run, wow. I think if you go get involved it's the Midwest, the one here that's cheap, is the Midwest Society of Association Executives, or the Midwest meeting plan. It's not Minnesota Speakers Bureaus because it's South Dakota and North Dakota. The Association of Association of Meeting Planners. That is an active group. What's the active?
So it's the Minnesota Association?
MPI. Thank you. Meeting Planners International.
You know, I just did
MPI.
get that suggestion.
But that right there
could
start your trajectory. The other one to me that's a very strong local group is NSA, National Speakers Association. You get all these speakers, but they're wanting creativity. Like me, when I started, speaking, how can you be different? You could get some speakers that just hire you every time.
Sure.
They would just want to get their message across that way. Because
well, yeah, I mean, I think there could be dozens of these people without getting saturated.
Would have my bias toward time and money going towards those relationships.
That's the question I asked. It's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I could do a lot of end client networking right now, but I want to find like the connector tool. Thank you.
So, what about technology that would help support this? So, like, I can't see it.
Yeah.
So
this is actually pretty small scale.
With someone, do you
Right.
have equipment that will allow you to?
Yeah, there's a couple answers to that, and one is that this is small scale. That board is actually on its side. It's usually folded out 8 feet long. And I roll out a piece of paper that's 8 feet long by 4 feet high. That's for something that would require an hour. Yeah, I agree, it's a little small, but we're a little closer. But yeah, you're right. And I thought that as I was doing it, it felt small. It was kind of the first time I've tried that scale. But yeah.
But your back is in between, even here. I can't see it. Not that
Yeah,
it's great,
yeah.
But some sort of a rig that you had that was mobile that you could set up that was part of what you bring to the table when you go to present beforehand.
Actually, that's a really good point. I was
Yeah.
at the Union Depot for one of the Friends of the Library presentations, and an engineer was sketching right next to one of our board members as he was talking, and they had it right on the screen, so it worked out so that everybody could see.
Yeah.
There were 1,000 people there, and everybody saw him do this whole thing. It was fantastic.
So you need to be in control of that camera's
Right.
your work is presented.
Good point.
Well, I mean, that's another way I could scale is to get to that point where there's somebody that I can bring with me that can run my tech. Because if I start running my tech and doing this, something's going to go wrong. And I've had this experience in grad school where I got a master's in visual storytelling. It was all about sequential storytelling. What are all the tools? There's all the animation tools. There's very digital, super canned CGI to the real handmade, and then there's all the in-betweens. And the more I played with it, my thesis was a one-man show, an autobiographical show where I did a projection of drawings, I did live music, and I was telling a story, and it was just like, inevitably something went wrong every show. And I managed to always play it, and we pulled it off. But, I think there's a danger in getting too far into that territory. Though I think if I'm in the big leagues and we're going to international, speakers, experiences, there's probably going to be tech there that can handle it. And I'm more interested in trying to see where I can leverage that. Otherwise, why would we need to project this today, right? I think we could just do it bigger. And then the experience could be filmed. They can always be photographed. Time lapses of this kind of stuff are really fun, and even my iPhone does that. So anyways, they're, okay. Yeah.
So, like, how fast can you turn this into something that someone can take away with them? I can imagine that, like,
Yeah.
if you're like presenting to VCs or something like that, and you want to basically like give them something as they walk out the door that's going to, you know, have the story stick in their mind for the rest of the day. If you could basically like print that out as they're walking out the door and hand it to them, that would be really valuable.
Like as a paper takeaway. Yeah, boy, yeah, portable printers, maybe. But I'm mostly sending digital emails. I take an iPhoto picture of this. It's in their inbox in the next half hour. That's what Catherine will get.
So that's all the questions we have time for now. We always have a follow-up question. How can this community help you?
Well, that was the biggest bunch of answers I've ever gotten. So I think we're well on our way. Making sure, if you can, to get my card and follow through, that's like super helpful. I mean, we give away so many cards that go nowhere. And so just follow through if you can. I'll reach out to you and give me your card. That's even better, because if you're worried you won't follow through. What's that?
Spell your last name when you start.
Okay. Yeah. I will now, too.
Is the sign your work as you go or continue creating, so we all know who you are? I think that's some
Yeah.
keyword that we can search for
I
later.
tend to do like a Twitter handle at the bottom of this and the name and the .com. So thank you very much.
Wonderful presentation.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
It was a blast.
Thank you for coming to 1 Million Cups today. I want to thank and Stacy from Agency Nord. I'm Paul. I'm also an organizer here. I also want to thank City Kid Java, who provided a coffee for us today. They're a social enterprise that helps at-risk youth. And I want everyone to recognize that they can come here and network at these meetings, hang out for a while, have some coffee. This is a great place to be able to work. If you find yourself wanting to be able to have some Wi-Fi, have the resources of the Hill to help your business get going. Thank you again.